Hello, and welcome to another episode of Craven Some Raven. I'm back after a week gone from recording a podcast, but you know what? Things are gonna get ramped up here because finally we got rookies reporting to training camp. Are you kidding me? What do you know? We are only like 2 weeks away from our first preseason game, and we are back, baby. Football is back. Let me hear it. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. No, can't hear me or can't hear you because obviously I'm in my goddamn apartment, far away from anybody who's listening to this. But I'm excited. You should be excited too because football is almost here. The day is finally upon us. I've never been this excited for a football season to start. God damn, I'm getting a boner just thinking about it. Anyways, so in today's episode, I am going to go over some, not questions, some concerns that I have over this team. They may be few and far between, as I am a huge purple Kool-Aid drinker. In fact, I'm getting a cavity because of how sweet that Kool-Aid is. But you know what? I still have some concerns, maybe some questions that I will attempt to, go over. There's no purpose. It's just something that I see or a concern that I see with this team. Whether I think it's true or not, it is still there. So before I get into all of that, before I concern you with my concerns, I have to take care of some business because I have a new sponsor. So this episode of the Craven Some Raven podcast is brought to you by Killing Connect app. Are you tired of not having the right connections when you need someone killed? Well, our new Killing Connect app will connect you with the local talent you need to pull off a successful hit. Whether it's someone you used to love or someone you currently hate, we can connect you with the assassin that best fits what you need done. Think of us like Uber, but instead of delivering you, we deliver death. Prices may vary from hitman to hitman, but one thing's for sure, we get the job done. So download the app and get your hit started today. Killing Connect app. We put the hit in Hitman. Excellent stuff there. Super popular app. I'm surprised you haven't heard of it. But they're getting the word out there, trying to connect you with the local hitman that helps you get what you want. Hey, you need a babysitter killed, you need a parent killed, maybe even your grandparent, you sick son of a bitch. But you know what? They get the job done. I've used them before. Had a few, some neighbors. I needed them to, get taken out a little bit. But I don't know a hitman. So you know what I did? I went to the app store, downloaded the Killing Connect app, and they found me a great hitman. Really nice guy. Had an eye patch. Always wears leather gloves. Cool dude. Cool guy. And you know what? And he got the job done. Neighbors, no more. So, I guess I'll get right into things, some concerns that I have. So, I don't know how long this episode's going to be because I don't have many concerns, but, I'm just going to bring up some stuff that I've heard other people say and some stuff that I've kind of thought. And so, I think currently my biggest concern with the team is at left guard. Who's it going to be? Huh? Who is our left guard? I personally, I like knowing who the offensive line is going to be. The offensive line, having continuity, it's super important. Knowing who your 5 starters are going to be is a huge bonus. It's that continuity, that being able to know what the other guy is thinking, which makes a good offensive line. And without knowing who our left guard's going to be, it's just a huge question mark out in the air. Like, who's it going to be? It's great to have competition, but it's one thing to have competition not knowing who's your starter, or having competition knowing who your starter is. Because as of right now, it's just open season. Not knowing, it means it's free for anybody to take it, whoever performs the best. But I would like to know who it is. I'd really like this information known as the team. I don't know. And it just seems like a lot of our guys, they're they're not dedicated to one position on the line. All of our backups, they're all guys who are switch hitters. They hit anywhere, or they play anywhere. They're guard tackles, tackle guards, and I would just like the guy. I know we drafted Ben Powers. I think it could be him. I think he had a lot of success, but I heard someone say, I forget who, but I thought it was a great statement that the Ravens, they never really start their rookie offensive linemen. You saw how great Orlando Brown Jr. did this past year, but it took them weeks to even start him, and you saw how successful he was. So it's like instead of trusting the play, they trust the price tag and who's ahead of them, the veteran presence. I know they say best player plays, a meritocracy or whatever, but seriously, John Harbaugh, you're lying to us, because that is just frankly not true, because Orlando Brown would have been playing all year long if that was any sort of true. But since we have James Hurst and he makes more money, John Harbaugh was inclined to give him the starting job. And I really don't want Hurst as our left guard. I've seen stuff like, is it going to be Illuminor? Is it going to be Alex Lewis? Is Alex Lewis going to even be on the team? Will he get injured again? There's Shannon on no shoulders. Alex, no shoulders, Lewis. Put the team on his shoulders. But don't actually, because it might break. Please don't put the team on your shoulders, Alex Lewis. It's going to cause you some pain. So, it's just a huge question, because continuity is the biggest thing for an offensive line. Not so much physical traits, I believe, of each individual guy, but it's how do they play as a unit. And the more you play together, the more successful you're going to be as an entire group. So, yeah. I don't know if I have anything else to say. I'm just kind of doing this off the cusp. But, wait. So, yeah. Offensive guard or left guard, I think, to me personally, is the biggest concern. I think it's our only positional concern, like when it comes to who's going to be the starter. I know there's also concerns about inside linebacker. Some people have that concern. I don't personally, because I think our inside linebackers are going to be good, and we've proven that no matter who we kind of plug and play in that spot, we'll be fine. Maybe the same can be said about left guard, but like I was saying before, it's one of those positions that where continuity is important, and the more those guys play together, the better they will be, in theory. So hopefully they get that going, they get everything good, and everything's great. But we don't know who it's going to be, so it's a concern for me. So I guess another concern I have, kind of a big concern, is where's the leadership coming from? We lost a lot of our defensive leaders and a lot of vets this past offseason. The likes of Terrell Suggs, C.J. Mosley, Eric Weddle, Zadarius Smith. Those are our defensive leaders. Not to mention on offense, we lost Joe Flacco, and who else did we lose? Michael Crabtree and John Brown. I mean, those guys weren't so much leaders, but they were veteran presence. They were a veteran presence, which, a leader in the locker room. Maybe not so much the vocal, rah, rah, woo, let's go Ravens kind of guy, but someone who can lead through example by showing up to work, doing them, and seeing, and younger players can see how these guys act around the locker room, how they kind of put in work and train, and, work their bodies up to kind of get to where they are, seeing a veteran put in the work day in and day out. To me, that is leadership, and a veteran presence, that's a main focus. I know we got Mark Ingram now. He can be a veteran presence on offense, but we just have a very young team, which is kind of another concern, but I'm talking leadership. You need strong leaders. Now, I don't think we necessarily need a Ray Lewis type guy, a guy who can get up and talk for 45 minutes. I'm pissed off for greatness. We, as a team, we gotta go out there and make some plays. They ain't got nothing, no weapon forged against us, whatever his classic thing was. So, who is gonna be our leader? We don't need the rah-rah guy like a Ray Lewis, like I was just saying. We just need someone who can kind of lead lead by example. And I think we have quite a few veterans, but we lost a lot of stalwarts on the team. C.J. Mosley was going to be the next guy in line, but now he is no longer there. He was the guy who I think the Ravens themselves thought was going to step into that role. They offered him apparently like $14 million a year, which would have made him the highest paid inside linebacker. But the Jets came in and said, "You want that New York money?" He probably would, at making $14 million in Baltimore, would have technically been making more than he is making $17 million a year in New York, just because of how expensive it is to live there and the taxes that are involved in that state. I don't know exactly what the Maryland tax is for income, but I know New York is like probably second worst, if not the worst, besides California, when it comes to your income and being taxed. I've heard players talk about that before and talk about people just moving down to Florida because there's some kind of tax kind of loophole, or maybe not loophole, but they don't get taxed as much down in Florida. So, so he was going to be a leader, I guess, and now he is no longer middle of the defense. So where's our defensive leadership going to come from? I mean, we brought in Earl Thomas. He's one of the best safeties in the entire league, and according to Madden, he is the best safety in the league. I don't know if I so much agree with that, because I think, we got guys like Jamal Adams for the Jets, or Derwin James, or someone else that's not coming to mind. Very good players, all-around players, but they're younger and haven't proven it long-term. So we got Earl Thomas, who could be a leader, but he doesn't seem like a loud, outspoken kind of guy. But we have Tony Jefferson, who is kind of a rah-rah guy. Hits you up on Twitter, trying to recruit players to the team. And I think that is where a lot of our leadership, at least on defense, will come from. And I think hopefully behind Lamar on offense, maybe Lamar will become that leader. He's one of these guys that players gravitate towards. I think a lot of times the quarterback position is kind of put on the pedestal, where some quarterbacks are almost treated as if they are the cure to cancer. Not that they've cured cancer, but they are the cure to cancer. Like, hey man, I just got diagnosed with cancers. Can I get 10 cc's of Brady? No. You are just a quarterback. You're just a player. And they're put on these pedestals. And so much so that I think some of the other players kind of resent that or dislike it. They're not football players to them. I think that might be something that kind of goes into that. But I think when players talk about Lamar, and you see it all the time when someone's being interviewed on any sort of NFL network or ESPN or any of these national media kind of circuit spots, and they're interviewing someone and they talk about what was it like playing with, or what was it like playing against Lamar, and I was like, man, he's the dog, man. He's a great player. And I think it's because they see him as a true football player, because guys like Brady, I'm just going to pick on Brady here, because he has caused the league to make rule changes with his whining and his bitching and his moaning and, oh, he touched my shoulder. And I think it pisses defensive players off. I think that kind of nonsense, that kind of play, like Phillip Rivers, for example, all he does is bitch and moan to the refs. He gets sad, he gets a little pouty, like I imagine all of his kids do. His kids are going to be fucked up, because if they see their dad setting the example of just crying and whining, then that's what they're going to do. I feel bad for him, because it's going to be impossible for him to punish. Gosh darn it, as he says. But no one watching the game respects that kind of behavior, and I imagine the players feel the same way that I do. They don't respect that kind of, they're not actually being competitive. They're saying, change the rules for me. Like, oh, change my diaper. I just shit my pants. Like, yeah, you did shit your pants. Now deal with the consequences. Get hit. And I think players respect Lamar, and I think he could be an excellent leader for us and be a great asset for our team to build around, to build behind. And I think players are 100% going to be around him or behind him, just because, like I've been saying, he is that guy. He is a leader by example. He puts his body on the line. I know some people don't like that, but you know what? I think it kind of proves his point that, man, I'm a ball player and I'm here to play ball. Don't mess with me. Don't put me on a pedestal. I'm one of you guys. So just that camaraderie people, being around Lamar. He may only be a second-year player, but I think he is going to end up being a leader here pretty shortly. If not this year, then maybe next year. The more games we win behind him, the more he'll be able to speak up because he is a, soft-spoken kind of individual. But like I said, he seems like one of the players, and he's not separated from the rest of the team like a Joe Flacco was. I mean, he just kind of sat there, even killed, chilled, never really talked to the teammates unless there was a good play. And at least with Lamar, he's joking, he's hanging out. And I think, like I've just been saying, kind of proving my point, he seems like a football player and not a quarterback. He's not put on the goddamn pedestal, and he's not the cure to cancer, as most quarterbacks seem to think they are. I need 10 cc's of Brady stat. Give me that tuck rule. Anyways, and kind of going with the leadership kind of thing, another concern that I do have is that our offense in general is a very young group. Our whole team, really, a very young group. And a lot of our veterans, they were either brought in or they are 4-year guys on the team. Really, that is super young. I mean, what does that make you, like 26, 25, 26? I mean, that's super young. I'm 24. And I couldn't imagine, I'm a veteran presence in a locker room because I'm 24. No way. I feel way too young to be a leader in any sort of situation. Maybe that's just me. I mean, these guys were all alpha dogs coming up through high school and college. They were the dude. They've always been the dude, the best athlete, the coolest guy. So maybe it comes more naturally to them. But I mean, it still seems kind of crazy that a veteran is someone my age. I'm a vet, retired vet. But our offense is a very young group, and it almost is like I'm in an interview situation, and they're like, tell me what's your greatest weakness? And you try to turn your weakness into a positive, where it's like, well, our offense is young, but you know what that means? That also means that, I don't know, we're fast and coachable, and we just got a lot of speed. So basically, my negative is a positive, but to me, it's a concern. Now, I know, like I just said, they are technically faster, they are quicker, and they're going to be more on the ball. Maybe they're more coachable. They're more willing to take direction because they see themselves as younger players. They haven't gotten the diva-ness in yet. They haven't had enough success to become a diva yet. But it's a very young group. Mistakes can be made. Just what happens when they get into a big game and it's like, oh, this is the first time I've been in a big game and there's money on the line. A lot of these college guys, they've been in big games, but have they been in big games with money on the line when they got livelihoods now to kind of pay for a family yet? They haven't had to deal with that yet. So it's just the inexperience. Everything bad that comes with inexperience can happen with this team, just because they are a pretty young group generally across the board. A lot of our centerpieces on offense and on defense, they're pretty young. And like I said, it could be seen as a negative or as a concern that I have, but it's like the interview process. It could be seen as a positive. So, with that being said, I'm more glad that they have a young offense, even though it can be a concern to some people, even though I've been saying that it is. But I would rather have the concerns of a young offense and get the positives out of that, having young, hungry guys out on the field, than I would rather have old, tired, I'm done with this game kind of attitude that comes with vets sometimes. And I know Harbaugh says I've kind of said this earlier, but I know Harbaugh says the best players play no matter what. It's a meritocracy, if I'm using that word correctly. I think that's what it's called, Americantocracy. Anyways, the best players don't always play. This is a game with a lot of money on the line. If you pay someone $10 million a year, that person is going to be the fucking starter. I don't care what you have to say, John Harbaugh. Whoever is making the money, that's who's playing. Money talks and bullshit walks. Now, a rookie may be outperforming someone, but they're not gonna designate him the starter over someone making the money. It's just not the way it works. And so maybe with a young offense, there's not many players who are getting the money back right now. So they kind of have the ability to kind of switch things around and change things up. Oh, man, I just paused it for the first time. Damn. Fucking cranking through 20 minutes. Drank like a vegetable smoothie earlier. I am, feel good, man. Energized, feel clean. I'm probably going to shit my pants in a few just because that's what happens when you drink vegetables. It just goes right through you. Everything comes out. So, that being said, another concern I have. A lot of these I've noticed that I wrote down are on the offense. It's just because it is a new system and it is Lamar. But my next concern that I have is Greg Roman. He hasn't been a coordinator in a while, and the only concern is he just hasn't done it in a while, and we haven't actually seen if he can actually produce. A lot of what the positives that I always talk about are hearsay, technically. They're not real. They're not real, man. They're not even real. He hasn't done this in a while. He hasn't come up with his own playbook in a while. And the last time he was in Buffalo, I don't know if he had so much success where we'd say, oh, this is the guy. Now, saying that, I think with our pieces and everything that goes into it, taking all of our offensive players into consideration, I think this will be a success. But having a new guy who hasn't done it in a while is kind of a concern if you're from the outside looking in. Now, I don't see it that way, but I think, trying to find a concern on this team, especially being a part of the Ravens fan base and only really tracking what the Ravens do, it's hard to pick out something specific that I feel is an actual true concern, because a lot of the times when you see a national media member come out with an article and they have concerns about the team, you read it as a Ravens fan, you're like, that is just not true. That is a blatant fucking lie. You piece of shit. I hope you die. Because they just don't follow the team as much as, say, we do. If you're listening to this, you obviously really love the Ravens, and you're really into the Ravens, so much so that you're on some obscure podcast on either YouTube or iTunes or Spotify, Stitcher, all your big podcasting apps. Shout out to me. Now, you must be a true fan if you're listening to this. Or I know you in real life, and you happen to be listening. So, what's up, man? What up, yo? How are you? How's your day going? You feeling good? Are you excited for football? Either way, Greg Roman hasn't technically had an offense at his disposable, or as it's not like a fucking trash bag. It's not disposable. Yeah, as at his disposal, garbage disposal. He hasn't had an offense at his disposal. God damn it! I'm just gonna stop trying to attempt to say that word. He hasn't run an offense in a while. And no matter how you look at it, no matter how much you think it can be a success and point to all the different factors as to why, he still just hasn't done it. And so, naturally, it is just a concern that one would have. Fear of the unknown. I think it will be a success, like I've been saying for the past 5 minutes, contradicting myself. But I just think you never know. You can't count your chickens, or what's that fucking phrase? Count your eggs before they hatch, or gotta break a few eggs to make an omelet. Hey, no, I think you can't count your eggs before they hatch. No, you can't count your chickens before they hatch. No, you can't just expect, even with all the factors, especially in the game of football, where you don't know what the fuck's going to happen. It is an any given Sunday type of game. And so bringing in a new offensive coordinator, it is always concerning, because you don't know. You really just don't know how things are going to go. There are no guarantees in this league. Even Greg Roman. Roman noodles. Delicious. If you're in college and you love noodles, grab some Roman noodles. Another concern, this isn't really so much a Ravens concern, but this is more league-wide and maybe how it pertains to the Ravens. It's the new pass interference, the reviewable kind of pass interference bullshit that is probably going to go on at the early stages of the preseason. We saw it last year when they did the helmet-to-helmet kind of contact where they brought in that rule, and during preseason, it was just called like crazy, and it was kind of a shit show, and no one liked it. No one agreed with it. It turned, it turned the game of football into a pansy sport more than it has been turned into recently. It's just like, all right, so you literally can't even touch a guy in the open field, it seems like. If he catches the ball, you can't touch him until he takes 2 steps and he's gone. I guess they're trying to get more points on the field, but I just think the new pass interference, hopefully by the time the season starts, they'll kind of ease up on calling it, or because it's reviewable now, right? So I would say, like, towards the end of the game, just start chucking it down the field, just keep chucking it, and then throw the challenge flag. Send 5 people vertical up the field, and someone on the defense is going to hold on that play. So what you do is, at the end of the game, you got your 2-minute warning. You're all the way down on your 20. You got to go all the way across the field. Just send everybody. Just send everybody down the field and throw it up and throw the challenge flag, right? No matter what. Just throw the challenge flag, because I'm sure when they go to review it, when it's in slow-mo, you're going to see all sorts of grabbing. Because I feel like on most plays, there is pass interference. So I don't understand why they're trying to make it reviewable. I understand. All right, I understand why. It's because of those blatant fucking calls that they somehow still miss. But by addressing that, they're going to end up opening a can of worms that they don't want to open. That shit smells. Can of worms are gross. You're going to have birds attacking you. It's going to be a whole shitty morning. There's going to be shit flying from the sky from the birds that you accidentally fed with your can of worms. It's going to be crazy. So there's going to be unintended consequences when they introduce a rule like this that makes something that is so common in the game and makes it reviewable. Now, it may... sometimes they don't call it as much as it happens, but it still happens. And now, since you're going to make it reviewable, people are going to start pointing at all sorts of bullshit. Let's say someone goes for it on 4th and 1, and they try to pass it and they miss it, and they throw the challenge flag. Say, hey, this guy all the way over here who had nothing to do with the play, he got held. And then a coach could kind of say, well, hey, listen, we were going to go to him, but it turns out he was being held, so we couldn't go his way, and we had to throw it over here, and thus the play wasn't successful. I just don't like where this rule can kind of go. And I think it's gonna be a shit show in preseason, and by the time the season starts, they will back off of it or make some kind of adjustment to the rule. I just hope it doesn't ruin the game of football the way it's being played now. Sometimes I think it is kind of annoying the way you can't hit somebody or defenseless guy, but I thought that's what made football good. I miss the days of who remembers that show Jacked Up? He just got jacked up. That was the best part of SportsCenter. Like when they were going over the highlights of the week. Now, who the hell got jacked up? I want to see who got jacked up. Yeah, that's my favorite part. So, guess that'll be like a league-wide concern, not so much just for the Ravens. See. I just thought of one. I'm concerned about, kind of goes along the lines of us having a young team. And a lot of our players, they're needing to get paid soon. If we want to keep our core together, a lot of our fourth-year guys together. So we got guys like Ronnie Stanley, Michael Pierce, Peanut Onwasu, who else? Maurice Kennedy. Who else is a fourth-year guy? I know we have a lot of guys who are entering their spot to get a second contract. And the only issue is we're going to have to pay our guys a lot of money because the Ravens, they might be one of the only teams where if you let someone go, you let someone hit free agency, all of our guys get swooped up and make big bucks or small bucks. Either we don't want them anymore and they make, decent money that we weren't willing to pay, or we want to keep them, but they get offered some ridiculous money somewhere else, and there's nothing we can do about it. And we are just one of those teams that I think professional scouts, scouts on other teams who scout other NFL teams, they recognize how deep our football team is. We have starters. We probably have like 40-something starters on the team. I'm just making that number up. I don't know. I haven't counted them out. But players who could start elsewhere. If another team has a weak position at that spot where we're letting someone walk and hit free agency, they're going to sign our guys. I can't remember the last free agent that we let go that hasn't been signed that didn't have to do with injury or some kind of off-the-field issue concern. Someone that we had drafted that gets to free agency. Now, if it's someone who is a free agent that we bring in, well, I don't count that. I just count homegrown talent. So it is a concern because I know we are going to have a lot of money these next couple of years. At least Eric Costa, he's working towards getting the cap back to even or back to normal. Having it so we can pay these guys. But it is concerning if you have guys like Marlon Humphrey and Ronnie Stanley, two key pieces of your team who are going to get top dollar, top of their position type money. $12 million a year for both of them at least. So that's so $25 million for two players a year that you're gonna kind of have to pay, because I don't see us not continuing with Ronnie Stanley, not continuing with Marlon Humphrey. If we're going on without those guys, I think we're not gonna be. I don't know. We're not gonna want that. Let's just say we're not gonna want that. And it is a concern. I got concerns, okay? It's very concerning. So, yeah, we have to be able to find a way, get some extra money so that we can pay our young guys. As much as it's awesome to have free agents come in and sign them, I'd rather keep our own guys, keep the team together, that continuity, keep players playing together, that build that camaraderie. It makes the bench better. It makes kind of the whole team work better together. Yay. Hold hands and sing in the sunshine. So, I guess that's the last really concern I kind of had. I'm sure I can think of more, and I'm sure I will, and be like, gosh darn it, I should have said that. I should have said that when I was recording the podcast. Dang it. But, oh well, we're just going to leave it with that. We're going to keep it nice and short. I kind of spoke pretty quickly through this. I told you, vegetable smoothie, man. I kind of feel like I'm on cocaine right now. Just, woo! Got lots of energy. But with that being said, if you like the podcast, please rate, comment, subscribe. I mean, I'm on all the podcast apps, so if you're like me and you like podcasts and you want to listen at work, you don't got to have the YouTube page open. You can put your phone in your pocket and listen to some great Ravens content. So, I'm your host, Mr. Craven. No, I don't know. I need a better sign off. I'm your host, Steven, with Craven Some Raven. All right? No, so have a good rest of your day. Can't wait for training camp. Let's get it started. Let's get hyped. Hit me up if you got any questions. And I'll leave you with a go. Ravens, baby.